This one is on opening your workbook. There's a number of different states to open up your workbook in. Other than the normal state, we can open the workbook up as read-only, as a copy. We can open it in a browser if we've previously saved the workbook as a web page. We can open it in protected view, and we can open and repair the document, or at least attempt to do that. So we're going to open up our workbook in a number of different states. And to open up our workbook in any given state, including the ones we're going to discuss, press Alt-F-O, and you may have to modify the location. My location, by default, is the last place I was at, which is my desktop, which has the file I want to deal with here in this movie, which is this one here, Chapter 6 V2. So once you select the file, there's a drop-down button here that allows you to open up this file in a number of different ways. The first one is just to open it up in the regular normal way. The second one is open in read-only. The title bar says it's opened in read-only, which would suggest I can't make changes. Actually, I can. But when I go to save the file, left-click Save, I get this message. Chapter 6 V2 is read-only. To save a copy, click OK, and then give the workbook a new name in the Save As dialog box, which is what pops up right now, the Save As dialog box. The default name assigned to this will be Copy of Chapter 6 V2. I can then save it, and I have, in effect, maintained the original copy of the workbook that I opened, and I have a new copy to work with. Another option we have, Alt-F-O, select the file we want to work with, left-click to drop down, is to open as a copy. The title bar says Copy 1, the first copy of Chapter 6 V2. I can now make any change on this workbook and then save it, and it has already been assigned a new name. I just saved the workbook. It doesn't have to be renamed because it has already been renamed. For the next option to work, I need to first save this workbook, Alt-F-A, Save As, a web page. I'll select Web Page, save the document. I get a warning that says Copy 1, Chapter 6 V2 may contain features that are not compatible with the web page. I'm going to accept that and say yes. Now that we have our document saved in the web page format, Alt-F-O, to open the document, first selecting it, the HTML document is the one that's saved as a web page. Open in browser. I get this message. It says Microsoft Office has identified a potential security concern. This location may be unsafe. It's my desktop. I know it's not unsafe. And then I get some information about hyperlinks, and there really aren't any hyperlinks in the document. Do I want to continue? Left-click Yes. And my document is opened in a browser. I have the first worksheet, the second one, the third one, both of which are blank. This enables you to send a worksheet to somebody that may not have Excel on their computer. The next way to open up a document, Alt-F-O, and I'll choose my original document, is to open it up in protected view. And when I do that, I won't be able to edit anything in the document, in the workbook, until I left-click Enable Editing. So it's protected, but you can very easily unprotect it by doing that. The fifth and last way to open up a document, Alt-F-O, that we're going to take a look at, is to open and repair. This you may want to try if you're having trouble opening up a workbook because of some corruption issue. Excel can perform checks while opening the workbook and attempt to repair any corruption it detects or extract just the data, formulas, and values from the workbook. So the first line of approach is to select Repair. Excel may be able to repair the corrupted portions of the workbook and open it up, and at that point you're good to go. If you still are unable to open it up when you click Repair, the next option you can choose is Extract Data, and you may be able to recover some of the data. I'm going to cancel out of this and tell you that if all of this fails, if you try to recover your workbook by using the repair functions that we just talked about, and it doesn't work, you can, as a last resort, pull in your data into Microsoft Access by using the external data features and referencing a spreadsheet where you can then select a worksheet within that spreadsheet to pull the data into a table and create a table. Now, you'll lose your formatting and your formulas, but it still may be of benefit, depending upon what it is you're trying to recover and what you're trying to do, to use Access to set up a table where you can then copy that table into Excel. And it isn't ideal, but it may be better than losing everything in your workbook. So we took a look at opening up the workbook. We know we can open up the workbook in the normal mode, which is the first option listed. We can also open up the workbook in read-only, which suggests we can't make changes. We actually can. We just can't save the changes. So read-only protects your original copy of the workbook. We can instead just open the workbook up as a copy. It'll be automatically renamed, where we can save our changes and not worry about having those changes impact the original version of the workbook. We can open our workbook up in a web browser, provided we save the workbook as a web page. This is useful for people that you want to have access to your Excel content when they don't have Excel on their computer. We can open up the workbook in protected view, which is protected up to the point until you enable the editing. And if we have a corrupted file that we can't open up, we can attempt to open it up in the open and repair mode, where we have two options. We can try to repair the workbook, or we can try to extract the data if repairing the workbook fails.